Well then, here we are. I'm wearing my cool shades because, I'm just so cool. My shades that I can't see out very good because the stupid white dots on them. Anyway, hey everyone. So I did notice that somebody already asked a question right off the bat. Good for you. Just bam. And then right off the bat, Deb was on top of it, giving a link to my chicken scratch. Now, if you are looking for a pre-made mix, I'm not sure where you live, and how far this company goes, but there's a brand called, I think it's Kanixu. It's made right here in Washington State. It's organic and non-GMO, but not USDA certified organic, which means they can sell it at a much cheaper price. Now, that's what I use for regular feed. It is corn and soy free, by the way. The other brand that I really liked, it's still a great brand, and it's all organic, non-GMO, no corn, no soy. Dang it, Scratch and Peck. There we go. That's the other brand that you can get. It is more expensive because it is certified USDA, because we got to have the government step in and tell us whether or not they can certify anything. There is a certain amount of that I do get. I do understand. But the thing is some of these certifications are so, they're just dumb. And they don't really certify it's going to be healthy. They can certify something's organic, but their certification criteria may not be as strict as somebody you may know in person that is growing organic, non-GMO stuff, and you know how they're doing it. And they might not be certified, but they're probably using healthier methods than what the government claims is certifiable. And, you do have to have a certain amount of faith that they're telling you the truth, but you also, the person that's selling the non-certified stuff, but it's not much different than trusting the government to tell you that it's actually organic, because then you also find out there's like different stages. There's organic, which can be like, 70%, only has to be 70% organically grown, etc. Then you have 100% organic, and I think there's like 3 different levels of the organic and how it's labeled. You want to get it as 100% organic as you can. You'd think 100% would be the top, but I think that is. But maybe it should be 200%. So I got these funny little silicone finger cover things. They came in a whole package, and each color, there's 3 different sizes. So there's that size, and then that size, and then that size. Now, they seem silly, but they do serve a purpose. Anyway, I got them. I wanted to explain this. I got them because this time of year, I'm sure some of you are dealing with this too. I tend to get a lot of cracks in my fingers from all the digging and the washing of my hands 50,000 times a day. Then I go, as soon as I wash my hands, I'm like, oh, and then I go back out and start digging in the garden. And sometimes I'll put on gloves, but that doesn't always help keep them clean. Half the time I forget to put on my gloves or forget to take them out there with me, or I'm out there doing something else and I'm like, oh, look at there. And I start digging and my gloves aren't with me. So between that and then the crocheting, doing a lot of crocheting, it causes me to get those cracks on my forefinger right there and on my thumb, and those sore cracks. And so I initially got these just to help mostly with the crocheting, especially when I'm having to sew with a big fat yarn needle. That's when it causes a little more pain because of the way you got to grip it, or it causes the fingers to crack. And so that's why I got it. But then what I realized is that these things, sometimes I'll just put them on if I'm not gardening. I wouldn't wear these while I was gardening. Wouldn't be a bad idea, I suppose. But anyway, they got little grippery things on them. I don't know if you can hear that. What I found is that, well, I've always found that my skin cream, when I put my homemade skin cream on my cracks, it really does help heal them up and soften the skin. What I found is putting that skin cream on there, because then it always gets rubbed off, right? And then it's like you have to keep applying it and keep applying it. So I put the skin cream on directly on the cracks and then slip these things in place so that not only I don't have to keep wasting Band-Aids, because sometimes that's what I do is put the Band-Aid on so it would keep the skin cream on there and also help protect the cracks. I'll put these things on, massive difference. And I'm not having to keep going through Band-Aids. So it keeps that skin cream in there. It keeps it warm in there too, so it's going to absorb better. These things work great for that. So even if I'm not needing to use them for doing my crochet stuff, just putting them on if I'm just sitting doing something where they're not going to be a bother. Like I said, there's like a huge pack. I got them on Amazon. So, and so you got all kinds of different colors. And like I said, 3 sizes of each color. So you have enough for all your fingers either way. But it's since I'm right-handed, it's always my right forefinger and thumb that usually get the worst of it. So that's been working really good. So I just wanted to throw that out there in case anyone's just trying to think of something that can help with their cracked garden fingers, where you don't have to keep using Band-Aids and going through those, and these should last forever. I was sent a box like this, the wide mouth and regular mouth lids, a few years ago. It was totally unsolicited. I hadn't even heard of this brand. So they just sent them to me because of my channel. So I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And I was like, wow, these ones are actually made in America. Well, before I got those, another company had sent me some lids, totally unsolicited, and I know you guys have heard of them. I'm going to come back to this later. Never heard of them before I got them, so I was very, very skeptical about that. I have used them since. They do work. They work quite well. I'll say that. But I have more I'm going to say and why I will never buy them, and even more so now. So I've never had to buy them. I mean, I've never bought them because they've sent me a bunch. But these I would buy, even though I got these for free. These I would buy. I'm doing pretty good for lids, but if I needed to buy lids, I would buy these. I've got a lot of Tattlers. I love Tattler lids. They're all made 100% in the USA. And but the problem with the Tattlers, even though they're reusable over and over and over and over and over and over again, the problem with those is they're not great for vacuum sealing, and I don't recommend vacuum sealing with them ever. These you can reuse for canning, you can reuse for vacuum sealing, and they're great. So here's one of the things is that, and yes, thank you, Tammy. Now I'm an affiliate. This is why this is news, because it was taking them a while to get around to even setting up their affiliate program. And they had emailed me quite a number of months back. It might have even been a whole year by now. I don't know. Asking me if I'd be interested, that they're going to try to get a affiliate program going if I'd be interested. I'm like, yes, definitely, because these are good lids. And they only finally just got it set up. I don't know what's all involved in setting up an affiliate. And so now I'm officially an affiliate, which means not only does that help me out, because anytime anyone orders through my link, I get 10% commission. You get 20% discount. Usually it's a 10 for 10. Like you get a 10% discount, I get a 10% commission. But this is even better for you guys because I still get the 10% commission. You guys get the 20% discount. I'm like, this is a great deal. This is one of the best I've ever seen when it comes to an affiliate. One of the things I noticed right off the bat when I handled these is how much thicker and heavier they felt, to the point that I'm like, I know these are heavier. And I was kind of doing this. I'm like, I'm just going to pull out my scales. And I weighed them and compared them to the 4 jars lids, to the Kerr lids, and, of the equal size, obviously, and the ball lids. The Kerr ball and the 4 jars all weighed exactly the same. These in both sizes were heavier. I mean, not by a ton, but heavier. So that proved to me that these are definitely thicker. They are definitely heavier. And I also checked this little gummy thing. I like the fact that it's blue because it makes it a little more distinct than all the other lids. And it is also thicker. The way the ball and cur lids used to be before their more recent changes, and that's why they don't work as well as they once used to. It used to be you could take your ball and cur lids, and if you were making jam, you'd put the hot jam in the hot jars. You'd put you make sure the rim is clean, put the lid on, put the band on, invert them for like 5-10 minutes or something like that, and then turn them right side up, and then they would seal. Well, it got to be that they might seal with the way they've done the newer lids and making them a lot cheaper. They would lose their seal over time because it wasn't a good enough seal. And I realized it was because this thing here wasn't as thick as it used to be when I was comparing old to new. So I don't think I've tried doing that method with these yet, with the jam. I can't remember. I'm definitely going to do it this year when I make some more blackberry currant jam, and hopefully we get enough raspberries where I can make raspberry jam. I'm going to try so I don't have to do the hot water bath, because that's going to be a true test to see how well those work. These work for that, but I feel pretty certain these will work very good for that. Now, one of the first videos I did when I was talking about these a while back, I had tried vacuum sealing a jar with lids that I had canned with previously. Now, let me tell you something, because these are heavier, because they seal very tightly, very strongly. When you go to open them, you got to be very careful because they don't come off that easy. And if you pry too hard, you will make a dent. Now, if the dent is anywhere along here, you might not be able to reuse it for vacuum sealing or canning. But I did test this one. I mean, this jar is open because I just started collecting and dehydrating peppermint. That's one of the things that's on my dehydrator back here. I'm going to start filling up this bottom one here soon too. But I did test this last night, even though it's got the dent right there, and I vacuum sealed it, and it vacuum sealed up beautifully. And then when I go to open the vacuum sealed jars, they're definitely much harder to open. I mean, usually the ball and cur, when I vacuum seal them, I can just open them with my fingernails. I can't do that with these when I vacuum seal them. So that proves that they get a tighter seal. So I love them. I love having both the Tatler and the Superb lids. Now, let me tell you something about the 4 jars that most people even those who are, I think they might have an affiliate. There's a lot of YouTube channels out there promoting it because just like me, they were given free boxes, unsolicited. And then you feel kind of like you have to do a good review. No, you don't have to. I didn't ask for them to send them to me. Now, my review is they work, and they work well. They vacuum seal good. They can good. I haven't personally had any issues with them. I know some people have. What bothered me was I'm looking on them and it says, they give you the little, their Facebook and Instagram thing. It says 4 jars USA. And supposedly it is a family-owned U.S. business. I did some digging and found out they are made in China. At the time, the claim was that, and this was like 2021 or something, that they were, currently they're being made in China, but they're going to be moving their factory to the US. Well, it still hasn't happened yet as far as I know. I did some more digging yesterday, could not find anything on their site or anywhere claiming that they actually have a factory in the US now. Now, my guess is with everything going on, that might up their game and make them, try a little harder. But this is where I don't so much have a problem with them currently getting, because it can cost money to build a factory and blah, blah, blah. I get that, where you can just have them made in China. That's one thing. What bothers me is how deceptive they are. So just like how their little, their @ thing for Instagram and Facebook says @4 jars USA. You see that barcode? Now, can anybody tell me whether or not they can see writing below that barcode? And if you can you tell me what that writing says? Can anybody read that? Can anybody even see any words there? Guess what it says? Made in China. You can only see it with a bright light, and especially if you have at least 50-year-old eyeballs with your reading glasses on. It's not just that it's small, it's that it's very, very light gray against a white background. It's almost white. So that's them being honest that it's made in China, but unless you know to really, really look for it, you won't see it. Then if you go to their website and you're in the US when you go to the website, it's going to say 4 jars USA. Well, you know why it says that? It's because they have a Canadian site too. 4 jars Canada. So if you go to that site, it'll say 4 jars Canada and have the little maple leaf. So as a US citizen, you go there and you're like, oh yeah, see, they're made in the USA. If you do a search on Google and it pulls up the assist, which I believe is AI, that will tell you it's made in China or made in the USA, not in China. That is a lie. Because then, you know, how that assist works is they'll link it to a couple other articles where this so-called claim is made. But if you go to those articles and read them, that's not what they say. They say they're made in China. But because they also say in there that they're going to be moving their factory to the USA, see, that's what it's picking up on. Here's the other thing that I just noticed when I went to their site yesterday. This is yesterday, because I wanted to look again. I'm like, maybe before I say anything, I want to make sure they see if maybe they have finally moved their factories to the US. Maybe that's why this keeps saying this on the AI thing. Well, I would assume that if they finally had their factories in the USA, they would be promoting that big time all over their website. Nothing. So I went to their FAQ section and got to scrolling down and finally found a place where it says, it doesn't say where are these made. The question says, who makes these? But even that question wasn't answered. It says nothing about who makes it or where it's made. Nothing. The closest it comes to is it says there's canners all over the USA that are using and promoting these lids. So what happens is if you're just skimming through there to look for either China or USA, your eyes are going to fall on USA and go, oh, okay, they're made in the US. Nope, that's not what it says. You got to read it closer. And this is why at first I was trying to be nice about it, because I thought that, well, you know, if they're trying, that's cool. If they're trying to get a factory in the US, that's cool. But the fact that they're using these sneaky little deceptive things, why not just be upfront with people? Have an FAQ where it says, where are these made? These are currently made in China. And if they are truly trying to move their factory over to the USA, they can add that in there. If you're going to use deceptive practices to try to sell your product, I just cannot promote something like that. And I think people need to know. Now, if you don't mind buying lids that have been made in China, that's fine. I'm not going to badmouth anyone who chooses to do that. And like I said, they are good lids. They work well. They work as well as the ball and curl lids used to work just before they made the change. But the Superb brand is definitely better. So there's my little spiel on that. So I do have, I guess I only brought in one jar that has a Superb lid on it, vacuum sealed. I have others. But I brought these in because I just finished filling up 1 pint jar. I want to do probably 3 more of the rhubarb. My rhubarb looks probably the healthiest this year that I've ever seen it look. It is amazing. And so is my peppermint. My peppermint is going berserk. I am so thrilled. I mean, years ago, my peppermint was doing really good, but for the past few years, it's been, I still get peppermint. It's just not been great this year. It's just, it's doing so good. I am so thrilled because we go through a lot of peppermint tea in the year. And I was being rather frugal since we let the garden rest last year. I didn't harvest any peppermint. And so I was trying to be frugal with the tea as we were working through it this last year. But then I got up and I got, because it's up on a top shelf. So I had to get my ladder, climb up there and look. And I realized I still actually have a total of 5 quart jars of peppermint that I put up over the years. Because I always put up extra. Not just enough to get us through a year, but enough to get us through 2 years. And so I'm like, oh, I'm going to have to put up, since I didn't get much peppermint the year before and I didn't harvest any last year, I'm going to have to put up a lot this year. Well, I'm not sure if I will. If I'll have to, I'm still going to try to put up 4 or 3 at least quart jars, which I shouldn't have to try. It should be easy. It's just the time getting out there and then a whole bunch of other stuff coming in. So I've already got this one almost half full. I've got more peppermint in there along with some lovage, which that was one of the things I wanted to talk about. I'm not going to go into depth yet on the benefits of lovage because I'm going to do a standalone video on that. One thing I can say is it's high in quercetin. And lovage has, and I've shared this before, it has a very strong celery taste and it is perennial. It just keeps coming back and getting bigger and bigger and it will turn into it's like the marshmallow. It'll get very tall. It can get 8 to 10 feet tall and then it dies back for the winter and then it starts growing again. And I cannot believe how fast my lovage is growing this year. It's just like, it's blowing up. So I have some more of that in there too. So people were asking me when I showed that picture, like, well, what do you use your lovage leaves for? Well, this year, my plan is to just simply add them to my greens blend, along with the dandelion, the nettle, the carrot tops, and some other greens I'm going to put in there. And that way, not only am I getting the nutrient denseness of the lovage, but the adding that nice celery flavor in there too, because I like to go out there and pick a leaf or 2 of it and just eat it raw as I'm walking by. It is so good. If you like celery a lot, you'd like it, but it's a much stronger flavor. And then this is the stalks. These were smaller stalks because I wanted to start doing it now. But even since I harvested these several days ago and dried them, the stalks coming in are even bigger and thicker already. And I know they're going to get at least 8 feet tall because they did last year. I just didn't harvest anything last year. But anyway, I figure I'd cut up the stalks into little pieces and then use that as a celery replacement in soups and whatever I want to add that into. I could just mix it all together. It wouldn't really matter, I guess. But I'm just doing that for now because this is my first year harvesting my lovage, other than picking a leaf here and there. But let's come back to vacuum sealing. These are pistachios I got from Costco some years back. I don't know how many years ago. I know it's got to be at very least 3 years ago that I vacuum sealed into this recycled green olive jar using Patrick's chamber. Whenever I vacuum seal these type of jars in the vacuum chamber, they seal so tightly. I mean, it's very convex concave, not convex is this way. It's very concave. And I'm like, wow, you can tell that has a good seal. And there's no way I can just open that with my bare hands. Patrick might be able to, but I wanted to get a video of hearing that sound. So I use that spoon. I use like a soup spoon and just put the tip of it under there and then pried it so you could hear that air escaping. That just shows you how good of a seal it was. And boy, these are so good. They're not one bit stale. They're not at all rancid like nuts can get if they're not vacuum sealed. They will turn rancid and or stale. So good. And I had to open that jar yesterday because my grandbabies absolutely love pistachios. They found out. All 3 of them. Even little teeny tiny Rowan. She's 2 now, but if you saw her, you would swear that she's only 1 because she's so tiny. And I know I've said this before, that one's a little ball of fire and she's very devious, but she's also very cuddly and sweet and I love her to pieces. But anyway, she kept coming over. More, don't you want more pistachios? I'd give her a few. It's like, don't eat too many.